On this episode of Scots Abroad, we talk to a talented central midfielder who grew up in the Arsenal Academy. We talk about his debut in the Europa League and replacing Mesut Ozil, then being let go by Arsenal later that year and signing for Norwich, before agreeing a loan spell to the Dutch second division for Telstar. We also talk about his international career, which has seen him yo-yo between Scotland and England, and how he now feels he's ready to commit to Scotland. This is Scots Abroad with me, John Walker, and this episode's guest, Charlie Gilmour. Welcome to Scots Abroad, Charlie Gilmour. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right. How's the back injury going?
Yeah, no, it's going okay. I'm just waiting for a scan to just get some updates on how it's healing. But hopefully it feels good and hopefully it's progressing well.
What actually happened?
It's been going on for a couple of weeks before it got diagnosed. But it was two complete fractures in the lower back. So it's been hurting me for a couple of weeks now, and I just had to get it sorted, and I got a scan on it, and the results came back negative. So it's not good. But
how long are you looking at still then?
I'll probably say another. It's hard to judge at the minute because it all depends on the scan results, really. So it could be weeks, it could be months. You just never know.
So I guess at a very young age, your dad Ian played football in Scotland, yeah?
Yeah, he was playing for Motherwell at the time, just as an academy player. Yeah, and then he just moved down to England. And
then he became a coach, so I'm guessing that's where the influence on you and your brothers to start kicking a ball out became?
Yeah, he's always been around football. He's coached a football academy of his own a few years back. He got into coaching a few of the Arsenal boys, just scouting, pretty much everything to do with football. He just loves football, and that's what got me and my brother into it.
What age was that you were probably starting to play football then?
Since I can remember, really. 6 years old, 5 years old, just loved playing football, still do to this day.
You said you've got an older brother by about, what was that, about 7, 8 years? Your brother's older than you?
Yeah, he's 7 years older than me now. He used to be at West Ham Academy, Brighton Academy. So it's just about seeing how he progressed when he was younger, and just taking tips off him and learning from him, his good and bad points, because obviously you've got the advantage because you're not in his situation yet.
So did your brother stop playing professionally or semi-pro completely, or did he try and go down divisions and stay in football?
Yeah, he tried to go down, and just as time went on, it was just getting more difficult for him, and it just didn't work out for him in the end. But he's a good player.
So I'm guessing with your dad Ian and your older brother being in the academies at West Ham as well, I take it there was always an idea when your dad was able to look at you and say that there is ability there and we really should be getting him on specific trials or in front of certain people. At what age does that actually begin?
Well, nowadays it seems to be getting younger and younger. I was first picked up when I was 6. I was just playing for my local team. My dad was the manager, and we just played in a local tournament near me, and I just got picked up there from an Arsenal scout. The next week I went straight up there. We used to train up there once a week. It was every Friday nights. So obviously at 6 years old, it feels surreal because you're going there to train with Arsenal players, with all the facilities, and it's just crazy experience especially when you're that young.
I think there's a big difference between obviously the money down in England and the money up here in Scotland. So when you say you actually got scouted by Arsenal at 6, 7 years old, are you actually going into Arsenal's then academy at an under-7s, under-8s team?
Well, basically, you can only sign when you're officially 9 years old. So the lowest age group is under-9s officially. So for a couple of years, they try and get you in early just to get you involved, basically keep you on the good side, and just build a team from young, really. And so we just kept training under-6s, under-7s, under-8s, and it just got more and more intense as the years got on. So more days a week. The first year was 1 day a week. Second was 2 days a week, and so on. And it just got tougher and tougher. So I feel like they just try and get you in early to try and bond you with everyone. So when it is time to get signed up, then you're ready to go.
And were Arsenal your team growing up?
Yeah, Arsenal and Rangers were my teams.
Yeah, I think anyone that follows you on social media almost forgets that you're a footballer that played at Arsenal. and it seems to just be the Rangers affiliation. Where does the Arsenal link come, and where does the Rangers affiliation come?
Well, my dad's Scottish, so he's always been a Rangers fan. So I've been to a lot of games, watched plenty of games, and then with the Arsenal, my brother was a massive fan. Just basically who my brother and my dad supported, and the love just carries on from there.
Yeah. In the Arsenal Academy, so say take it from 9-10 years old, what is the schedule like from when you can sign, I guess we'll say not professionally, but sign for Arsenal at age 9 years old? How many nights a week is 9 years old?
From what I remember, it was, I'd say about 3 days a week. And then obviously you have a game on the weekend. So you have a game on the Sunday. And it just got more and more intense, especially because I live in Brighton. And the training ground was in Walthamstow, which is about 2 hours away. It obviously was a lot on my mum and dad because they were traveling up with me every 3 times a week. So it was hard for them as well. It was hard for me. It's just a crazy experience because it's not normal to be traveling up to London 3-4 times a week, and all the sacrifices that my mum and dad have taken from the early ages, and you just want to pay them back, sort of thing.
That was exactly what Ryan Gold said that, and expressed that about 3 or 4 times, was that his parents were taking him from where he stayed near Aberdeen down to Dundee for training sessions constantly before he moved into the academy. And you do read a lot about, I guess you get told a lot of negativity about parents being on sidelines and watching their kids play football and how they can behave sometimes. And you do forget that without the parents, there would literally be no youth football.
No, exactly. It's, especially because my mum and dad, they loved coming to every training, every game. So they was always supporting me, still do to this day. So it's just nice when you think about it, when you think about the past and see what they've done for you, and like you want to end result sort of thing. So you want to make it, you want to do them proud as well as yourself.
When the training's 3 nights a week, at what point did it become a bit more professional, where you sit down and realise that you're just not training to play football, that you're maybe training to become a future Arsenal midfielder that plays in the places that Fabregas has played, Cazorla's played, Ozil's played?
Well, it started getting proper intense when I was under 12s, because I moved away from my family and I stayed in a thing called Digs. You just live with another family member, not a relative, sorry, like a random family. So obviously at 12, it was tough for me, but I wouldn't change it because it developed to me as a player, and the experiences were just mental.
What does it feel like around Arsenal's training ground? So say you get to 12, 13 and you've had to move into Digs with a family to move closer to the training ground. Is that when stuff like analysis, do you get approached any mentors? I read Sir Alex Ferguson used to there was a story about Rashford and Pogba when they were like, when Rashford was like 13, he was training with Pogba at 18, 19, just for a game of fives during training. Was there any like that where you were 12 playing with 18s and stuff like that happening?
Well, in Arsenal, there's 2 different training grounds. So the under 18s and above are in a separate training ground. So you sort of have to earn your right to get in there. Obviously, when I was under 12s, the highest age group was under 16s, and you sort of see them and like you think, wow, when you walk past them, because they've had experiences of training with the first team. So you're sort of roughly in the same boat as them because you're so close to them.
As you progress, do Arsenal compare any players and tell you what type of player they want you to be, or are they just trying to nurture your technical ability and get you through the age group that you're in just now? Or is it like, Charlie, you need to actually spend some time watching Xhaka, Guendouzi? I guess Guendouzi would have been the same time as you, Cazorla, Arteta. Is there any of that going on at the club?
To be honest, I used to be a dribbler. I used to like dribbling with the ball. I used to play differently to what I play like now. I think that's down to the way Arsenal want to play. So they want to play fast, attacking football. So you like 1-on-2 touch. Obviously not like being greedy or nothing. Just get the ball, play, move. I think that's the philosophy that every player has when they grow up and go through the stages at Arsenal. And obviously, because I was there from the start, that was all I ever knew. Yeah, so it's a nice style, it's attractive, and I've enjoyed every minute.
I was reading something you'd said about your dribbling, and it did seem like you scored a lot of goals in your early youth career. Do you feel like the maybe bit of pressure to remove the dribbling and be a better passer or a quicker passer of the ball and move the game quicker is maybe detrimental? Because I'm just thinking Cazorla was a great dribbler with the ball and a great passer. Wilshire's dribbling ability was unbelievable at Arsenal when he was breaking through.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's maybe ever hindered a wee bit of maybe your goal scoring ability or your assists?
I feel like it's a question that it's difficult to answer, because it's basically like choosing a pathway. Like if I would have went that way or the other way, it's just, I feel like it's difficult to give you a straight answer there. But obviously, if I was playing more attacking, then I have more chance of scoring goals and assisting. But recently, I've been playing in a deeper role, holding midfield, and I'm enjoying it. I enjoy getting on the ball from deep and playing forward. I find it more difficult playing with my back towards goal,
right? Okay.
Receiving the ball. So I enjoy receiving it from deeper and playing forward.
Is there any players you watched? I know I was genuinely saying to you, and this isn't just me blowing smoke here, Charlie, because I've sent my mates the same 5-minute video, and I've just said the same thing. When he pings the ball, whose technique is that? And everyone said the exact same player. So without any coercion, everyone said Steven Gerrard. Is that a player that you watched a lot growing up then, being in England?
The thing is, people wouldn't believe me when I say my favourite player was Steven Gerrard, because obviously he's affiliated with Rangers now.
Yeah, no.
From young, since I've started playing, I've always loved Steven Gerrard. He's been my role model. And
who through Arsenal would you say that your time coming through was the player that you stood out and watched? Was it Arteta? Was it Cazorla? Was it an Ozil?
For me, it was Wilshere.
Right. Okay.
I think if he didn't have the injuries that he's had, he would be England's best midfielder. 100%, I believe that.
How did you feel about Arsene Wenger leaving, and did you have much of a relationship with him at any point?
I didn't really have much of a bond with him because I wasn't involved. I was about 16, 17 when he left. So I was still quite young, but I managed to make the bench in one Europa League match. But when he was in charge, I didn't get on, but it was still a great experience, especially how young I was at the time.
So I guess that makes it a wee bit easier for yourself. Not necessarily easier, but if you've not had the relationship, I mean, there's players who have been at Arsenal for 10 years, there's coaching staff that have been there completely under Wenger. Then you've got the likes of Lundberg have come into the academy, who's been with Wenger for 8 years before that. So I guess it's maybe a wee bit easier for a fresh start with you. Unai Emery comes in. You know that Arsenal the previous couple of years have dropped into the Europa League. So is it like maybe a bittersweet moment knowing the way that a team like Arsenal, who are a top 6, 7 English club, usually top 4, you know they're probably going to use the Europa League and the League Cup rounds to bed in some under-23s and under-21 players. So is it kind of almost bittersweet to you to see that Arsenal are in a position where maybe you could get on the bench and onto games more often? Yeah,
no, I agree. It could work both ways, because obviously they'll have more pressure of winning games because they were, at the end of the day, they wanted to be in the Champions League. But on the other hand, it gave me an opportunity to play for Arsenal and have those 2 appearances, which I'll always remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah, so on that, so your debut was in Ukraine against, is it Voskla? I think I'd seen somewhere that you'd quoted as saying that was minus 15 degrees, minus 16 degrees.
Yeah, minus 15. It was crazy experience.
Have you ever ran more than 10 minutes in your life then?
I couldn't even feel my feet when I was running. That's how cold it was. Couldn't even feel the ball.
I guess it probably amazing to get on, and that was your first Arsenal appearance. I've seen a lot of ex-players, but mainly in Scotland, comment on this. Do you think that there is sometimes an issue with academy football compared to what reserve football used to be in preparing you for becoming a first-team professional?
Yes, definitely, because when I signed for Norwich and I was trying to get myself a loan deal, it was difficult at times because I have no real evidence of proving myself at a certain level. It felt as if playing 23s didn't matter, which I can understand because the games are so different to first team football. So it was just about me getting an opportunity somehow, and I managed to do that in Holland. And now I've got some evidence of me playing first team football, which I can hopefully benefit from and progress further.
Where do you think that opinion comes from? Because I know me myself, so I watched a lot of Arsenal stuff on Arsenal TV. That's Arsenal TV for anyone listening, not Arsenal Fan TV. There is an actual channel, and it has all the 18s, 19s, 21s, 23s games on it. And it always feels like to me that there are very few players, especially in centre mid, who even tackle, I guess, is the main issue. It seems like it's a very standoffish, nice football, but that's really it. Because I've seen Rangers take on loan Sean Goss, Ajaria, even Zelalem from Arsenal, who whenever I watched him in FA Cup games for Arsenal, he looked an absolute standout. But he was playing in an Arsenal team that people feared. and he comes up to Scotland. Scotland's very much, I guess, like Championship football, League One, League Two in England, where you're going to come up against people who are a bit rougher and a bit cleverer, and it does feel like that's the gap. I was a documentary on Tony Adams, and that's what he was saying. He was saying it was just invaluable coming back from an injury and being able to play against like an 18-year-old, 19-year-old who you would then see 2-3 years later would be a Premiership striker.
I feel like it's different because when you play 23s football, like one week the team will be strong. The next week you'll have 5 players missing because the first team need them. So it sort of makes it feel like 23 is not a big deal, as in the league, winning the league or winning any of the cups in there. So it sort of takes away the hunger of winning, sort of thing.
Yes, so like maybe the 23s have kind of become what the under 21s football becomes in England and Scotland, whereby if you're good enough, you're kind of going to get pulled out of it. But if they don't need you for the next squad, you can drop back in and help out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So off the back of the debut in Ukraine in the Europa League, you drop into the Checker Trade Trophy. But it's yourself, Zach Medley, and Saka, who's been an absolute revelation under Arteta. He's been phenomenal. But Koscielny started that game, is that right, as well?
Yeah, he started, yeah, I think so.
Came back from injury and went off injured.
Yeah, that's the one.
What does that feel like a wee bit? I know he's lost the game 2-1, but when you are playing, all 3 of you have been in Ukraine and Europa League, but the club captain is then alongside you. Is that a slight motivation as well?
Yeah, definitely, because you know what he's experienced as well. So, and he's willing to turn up on an evening that he doesn't really have to play in. Because he's experienced so much, he can just go straight into the first team. But he wants to play, he wants to get minutes there and help the team and help himself, obviously. But no, it's definitely a bonus because you want to play with the best and see why they are the best and try and emulate them.
See, when that happens, does Koscielny become an insider to you guys for advice, or is he more pally with the coaching staff when he's turning up for that squad?
Obviously, it's difficult because he is so much older than everyone else. So it's sort of what group should he be in? But no, he's just such a respectful guy, and he helps everyone out. He helps the coaches out. He helps the players out. And at the end of the day, he was club captain. So yeah, he sets a good role model, example.
And then 10 days later, you're back on the Europa League bench at home this time at Qarabag. How did that feel replacing Mesut Ozil?
I still look at the picture that I've got of replacing him every day to this day. Like literally, whenever I'm feeling down, even if I'm feeling happy, I just look at the picture. I've got it saved in my screensaver. It just looks so like fake. He's definitely the best player that I've seen up close, training and playing. I managed to play with him in Dubai in some friendly match. I was playing just behind him. The movement, it's crazy. His first touch is just effortlessly, just crazy. Best player.
Yeah, it's good to hear that from inside the camp, because I know you can only really ever rely on rumours on Twitter. Or this player's reportedly said this. Or there's problems in the changing room with Ozil. The manager doesn't like him. So it's good to actually talk to somebody who's been in and around him to see, because there's always this assumption. I'm guilty of it as well. I'm trying to work on it and stop doing it. But giving players abuse when you don't know what they do day in, day out, you don't know what. When Ziggy Gordon came on, so Ziggy Gordon played with Hamilton. So what he was trying to get across was that not every footballer in the world's a millionaire footballer. And even if they are, they're still human beings. Like, you don't know what's going on at home, what's going on with their family. You need to sometimes go, it's still their job that they need to get through for 30 hours a week. So I just think it's amazing the abuse the guy gets.
Especially what he's achieved.
Arsenal hadn't won a trophy in 9 years.
Yeah.
We signed him within a year. I know people dismay it and say it's only an FA Cup, but since he's come in, we've won 3 of them.
Exactly. Actually doing something right.
Yeah. So I guess everything at that point, new manager, you made a couple of appearances in the Europa League, had a decent spell in the Checker Trade Trophy. Everything must be pointing to a fairly successful Arsenal career. At that time, you're 19, you've not even turned 20. You're going into 2019, January, February. You know you've only got 4 or 5 months left in your deal. When do you realise that there's not an offer coming, and why?
Obviously, the longer and longer you leave it, you sort of start to think negative, because you wonder why there's no offer. But it was a difficult time for me that last year, because obviously you have to think about your future as well as performing in this present moment. And obviously I had a good year I was playing every game for the 23s. Obviously, I made my debut. I was training a lot with the first team. Everything was just going very smooth, and I was doing well. I was progressing well. Yeah, and then I got told that I wasn't going to get offered in January. So I had a couple of months to try and sort myself out and look for a new club. And then I went to Norwich, and it's an exciting club. They play a lot of young players. They try and play good football. I see all the stats on Sky Sports about the possession-based football teams. They're up there, top 3. So it was a no-brainer for me to go there, and I'm excited for the future.
How does that feel then, being told? And do you get given a reason, or do you just I'm always curious as to how, because it feels like academy footballers, like you were saying 6, 7, you give 13, 14 years of your life, and then it's just, they need to go find another club.
Yeah, it's obviously difficult because Arsenal was all I ever knew. I was there for 14 years, and like you just think, because you've been there for so long, you think that it's never going to end. But no, it was difficult when I got told, and it just made some extra fire in my belly to go and succeed and prove the no's wrong. So change them no's into a we should have, or a yes. But I don't really dwell on the past. I just on to the next. When I got told, I just remained positive, and I sort of had a feeling that because I was at Arsenal for so long, that I'd have an opportunity of playing for another great club. So which it come true with Norwich.
You talked about your older brother. So what sort of advice was he giving you at that time then, if he'd been let go from academy? Was his had he done anything wrong that he wishes he'd done differently?
Well, I always speak to my brother every day. He gives me so much advice. Tactically, he knows so much about football. He's very knowledgeable. He always gives me little tips and that before games. So he helps me so much in my football. He's just black and white. So he just says it how it is. When I told him that and it was a no, he just says, "Okay, on to the next. Let's go again. No point dwelling over it. Just move on and let's get your career started." So
it doesn't sound like you've any animosity or any regret towards your time at Arsenal. Is there a wee bit of feeling, so not so much about regret, but maybe a bit about the wrong time at the right place though? I'm just thinking, with everything that went on after you left, so you'd said previously in an interview that your time with Freddie Lundberg at the academy was the best, you'd enjoyed it, and then you have a situation where you've left the club and Freddie Lundberg's now in charge.
Yeah, no, Freddie was superb with me. He was one of the best managers that I've had, for sure. I still speak to him to this day. He's so approachable, so you can just, if you have something on your mind, you can speak to him, ask for advice, and he's not the worst person to get advice from of what he's achieved in football. So it's positive all round.
Yeah, because I just what I thought, because he seemed to give a lot of youth players that he'd maybe had under his wing at the 23s, and it seems like the ones who performed, who were given a chance, Arteta has kept in and around. So it was when I looked at that, I went, it just feels like it was just the wrong time. If there'd been another year or 2 years, something might have went differently.
Yeah, there was a lot of change there at Arsenal. So obviously I had Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery, Freddie Lundberg. So it was just changes every year from when I was 17 to 21. So that didn't help, but it's no excuse.
So you've joined Norwich and then you want to get first team experience. Have they already brought you in and said that was the plan from day one? You're not coming here to play for Norwich just now. You're coming here on a 3-4 year deal, but you need to get out and play football.
Yeah, that was the plan. So I signed with Norwich and then I wanted to go straight out on loan. They wanted me to as well, and I went to Telstar. It's not the highest standard second division in Holland, but it was a stepping stone for me to improve as a player, and I feel like I have done this year as I played over 25 games there, which I enjoyed my time. Yeah,
and I seen you'd said that Andries Jonker was the reason for it. So he was at Arsenal, Bayern Munich, Barca, been involved in the Dutch FA consecutive. Is that basically the pull there? Going, I need to be around him.
Yeah, definitely. I was in contact with Andries when I got let go by Arsenal. I just asked him if he could help me find a new club. At the time, he was taking over at Telstar, and he basically asked me to join, and it was a no-brainer.
How was day one? Because I'm assuming everyone knows about Dutch football, the top tier, but when you drop down tiers, I mean, even myself looking at some of the teams, I know it's similar to a lot of leagues around Europe where you've got like the Ajax youth team, PSV youth team. There's loads of them down there. What was day one like when you went to training? Like knowing what you knew of them?
It was completely different to what I've known, because all I ever knew was Arsenal. So I've never been in a different environment in my whole footballing life. So we train on the match pitch, because it's 3G. We're always around the match pitch. There's no training ground. It's just a completely different world, but I feel like it's the real world. Because obviously at Arsenal, you're sort of in a bubble, so you say. But with Telstar, it's just completely different. You don't get what you get at Arsenal. Obviously, the facilities, the money, it's just completely different. So you just sort of have to adapt, and it's sort of gave me some fire in my belly, because when I first went there, I was a bit upset, so you can say, because obviously at the end of the day, you don't want to be playing, say, in the second division of Holland. You want to be playing at the top level. But I just had the drive in me and play the full season there and enjoyed my time. And hopefully now I'm on the next step of my journey, and I can hopefully get as far as my ability takes me.
Yeah. Did you know that, so somebody played with Arsenal, so Marcus McGrain, did you know that he was going to be at Telstar, or did that happen after you went, or did you go when you heard he was going, or was it just a joint effort that both was happening because both of you had been under Anders Jonker?
No, that was, I signed, and then a couple of months later, in the January window, he joined on loan. He had a good relationship with Andries Jonker. So I've been in contact with Marcus practically every day. So we had a good relationship, and he felt it was right to come here to get game time, and I told him positive things about it. And yeah, he had a good few months there, played games, and he got himself a move now. So happy for him.
Yeah, so the football's, I think, probably the highlight of the season that you just played there. Would that be the Ajax game?
Yeah, definitely, because obviously you see the players that played, Dusan Tadic, Tagliafico, Huntelaar, just some world-class names, and that's where you want to be. So it's good to see them and play against them and see what they're like as players. But yeah, no, the experience was crazy. That's the best team that I've played so far to this day.
And was there any point that you were thinking that you'd maybe stayed in Holland to try and work your way up, or was it always a case of, no, this was to get experience of, as you said, real football and get back to England and make a name for myself?
To be honest, I would play anywhere. I don't mind where I play. I'll go out my comfort zone. I can live in Holland. I can live in England. I just want to play at the highest level that I can, whether that will be Premiership, the first division in Holland. But my next aim is to play for a Norwich first team and hopefully be a starter for them.
So I guess the one of the questions that I've been asking in all these topics is because it does seem like it's a rare thing for Scots or even Brits, to be honest, to move abroad before the likes of Sancho and stuff had done it. Do you think there's a reason why people move, or is it just because the English Premiership and even English Championship, if you compare it to Scottish football, there's so much money and allure and attention and TV that it's like, why would you want to go anywhere else? Do you think that's what it is?
I think it's just people that they want to get an opportunity to go and play first team. Obviously, it's more difficult in England because they have the money to go and spend 50 million on a player, or they can entice a player easily. So it's difficult for youngsters to get in England and play straight away. So you sort of have to go to a different country and develop there and come back and try and play in the Premiership after you've had the experiences. Yeah,
so I guess we'll move on to the point that makes you, I guess, qualified for this, but it's an interesting topic and we won't judge you on it, Charlie, at any point, right? But through your international career to date, you have yo-yoed back and forth And I think it's something we probably see a lot of, especially from maybe Bertie Vogt's era in Scotland to probably about now, where I think we actually have a fairly good first team. Is it just a case of opportunity? Like at 15s it was England, at 16s it was Scotland. Is it really just who's giving you the most attention, where you think you're most likely to play, and just trying to get international football under your belt?
For me, so I first started playing for Scotland under 15s level. They started their training camps before England.
Right.
I think England started under 16s level. I went to Scotland, loved it, played in some great games, training games, enjoyed it there. Then the year after I went to England, I enjoyed it there also, but it was just, how can I put it? They were both different, but in a positive way. Scotland, I felt if you was to win a game, it meant more, because obviously you sort of, sometimes you're the underdogs, do you know what I mean? So we played in some games where we was underdogs, and when you get a win, it's just a nice feeling. Whereas when you was playing with England, it's just, I think it was more about performing than winning. I feel like that was the key factor. Because
you've came through Arsenal as an academy, and Arsenal, at that point you were coming through Arsenal, are a continuously top 4 team, expected to win things. Where do you think you most enjoy it? I guess everyone wants to be at the top end with the pressure of constantly having to win. But I think sometimes you see players rise a wee bit more when they're at Scotland are the lower end. There's no point beating around the bush just now. You need, the same way you'll now be with Norwich if you're in the Premiership or even the Championship. It's quite interesting to see how, depending on what happens over the next 2 months, you'll either potentially be going into a Premiership side fighting relegation or a Championship side expected to win a league.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Which do you prefer?
Well, obviously you want to win, so whatever team wins at the end of the day. But no, it was different. It was different because I was at Arsenal for so long, and every game we used to dominate possession. We used to have the ball all the time, so we didn't defend much. And so obviously when I went to Scotland, it made me learn different types of the game that I've never practiced, because I never could, because Arsenal had so much of the ball. And I feel like that benefited me, because I want to improve on my weaknesses, my defending, my 1v1s, my tackling. So I feel like it helped me more as a player to playing for Scotland. And now I'm back in Scotland. I played there after England for a couple of games, and now my future's with Scotland.
Yeah, I think that was the question I was going to ask, was because I think, so there was 3 under-21 camps whilst you were playing regularly for Telstar, and Telstar were 7th, 8th in the league when it got called, kind of fleeted up and down, decent results in the Cup. Were you surprised that there was no contact? Because I guess people could say, well, he was in the 2nd tier of Dutch football, but Jordan Hallsgrove, who's on loan from Reading, is in the 3rd tier of Spanish football with Sidi Bellereth, and he got caught up, and you've went through all the structure.
Yeah, no, obviously you want to get called up, and playing with the 21s would have been a great experience. But I was enjoying football so much with Telstar that I didn't really think about it. Right. Because you still play games in the international break in the 2nd division in Holland. So I didn't really think about it. And even if I did get called up, I don't know if I would have went because of Telstar. But I would definitely have loved to have played for the 21s, and hopefully I can in the future. I haven't got long left though, because I'm 21 now. So I guess we've talked about it a couple of times. So your future's at Norwich. Norwich have got a pretty good record. I think I'd said this before. Even like the likes of Kenny McLean, I guess, being a shining example of a Scottish youngster moving to Norwich and then becoming a full international and a regular in the Scotland side and Scotland squad. Is that someone that you've spoken to already? Is it someone you even know? No, to be honest, I was only there for like 1 or 2 weeks when I signed, and then I went straight out on loan. But so I didn't really have much contact with anyone. But my agent has Grant Hanley, so obviously he's the club captain. So that hopefully that will help me if I was to ever get opportunity to train with the first team. But no, there's not been much contact with any of the players.
And what about the management? Has there been a talk about what was expected of the second season? So I guess we don't really know what's going to settle and where it's going to happen, but has there been talks of you were expected to then come into the team and be around the squad?
I feel like it depends on what happens this season in terms of if it's Premiership, if it's Championship. But I think it all depends down to that really. I speak to the loan manager a lot. I have a good relationship with him. All I've got to do is just keep performing when given the opportunities, and hopefully it all works and gets put in place by itself.
So I guess this is probably another situation when I was talking about a bittersweet feeling where no player realistically wants his club to suffer any hardships. But I guess if the season had continued, the most likely scenario was that Norwich were going to be one of the bottom three. And to be honest, I'm guessing the way that it sounds like you're talking, the best chance for you being a Norwich regular would have probably been if Norwich had to drop in the Championship and restructure. Is it one of those situations where you wouldn't want to get relegated, but you know deep down that your career might really advance quicker?
I understand, but I feel like no matter what division they're in, I believe in my ability, and if I get the opportunity, I hope I can take it, and I believe that I can take it, and so I don't think it matters which division they're in. I hope they're in the Premiership because that's the standard that I'd want to play in the future.
Yeah, and I guess on that as well, because that's a really good point. I feel like this is something, see, with the seriousness that academy football gets taken, so the 18s, 19s, 21s, 23s, and the amount of these young players you see break through, that it's almost kind of forgotten that it sometimes feels like 20 and 21 gets made to feel like it's old, like you're not a 17 and 18-year-old breaking through.
Yeah, no, I agree, because you do see 17, 18-year-olds that are playing first team already, like Bukayo Saka. And it sort of makes you think at times, am I behind, or why is it taking so long? And obviously I'm 21 now and my career hasn't really started yet, sort of thing, to what the level that I want to be playing at. So you just got to remain patient and just hope that everything falls into place. But everyone has their own pathway. So it just depends what your pathway is, and hopefully my pathway is leading me in the right direction.
Yeah, and I remember something that Arsene Wenger said when he was talking about sports science. I found quite fascinating. He mentioned it in reference to Fabregas, Wilshere, Walcott, Rooney, the four probably youngsters at that time who were breaking through for England. And he said, and Michael Owney mentioned as well as an example, if you play 17 and 18-year-olds at men's football too often, too young in the UK, they'll get to 28, 29 and suffer a lot of injuries. And on every one of those players, he's been proven completely correct.
Yeah, no, that's true. When you think about it, I didn't actually really think about that. But yeah, when you look at it like that, I can sort of understand why he thinks that. Because there's so many games in the Premier League. You play like 40, 50 games in the whole season. If you're doing that for a young age, then yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I just think it's, just as an Arsenal fan myself, I just think it's a wee bit of a shame, because I seen Andy Schonker said something in an article about you, I don't know how recent it was, but he was talking about the one thing that you had maybe over other people coming through academies was you knew when to take a yellow card. And I think I constantly watched that Arsenal team with, it doesn't matter which variety of the 2 out of 7 midfielders they play in centre midfield, neither of them know when to kick somebody in the right position. It's always in the box or something stupid. And it just, anytime I seen you at the academy, I just kind of thought where we were missing was maybe somebody who had a bit of smarts about them and sitting midfield. And I do think that, I think it's something that somebody will look at again in your future, providing everything goes well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like, especially when you make the step up to first team, you have to be aggressive. You have to get stuck in, because at the end of the day, that's the foundation for a holding midfielder. You want a holding midfielder there to break up, play and tackle. And if he's not doing that, then he's not really doing his job. So I implemented that in my game. I feel like I'm progressing well with it, but I just need to continue to get stuck in, because I believe that most managers, most coaches like that way of like the style of a holding midfielder.
And I guess I wouldn't be allowed to let you go off this interview without asking, would there ever be any aspirations of coming up to Scotland and obviously playing for Rangers? And has that ever been something that's ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, like who wouldn't support who wouldn't want to play for the team that they've supported all their life? Yeah, I love Rangers. I've always watched them. I know a few players that play for them. Glenn Kamara, Glenn Middleton. Yeah, no, I just love going to the games. The atmosphere is crazy. Yeah, obviously that would be a dream. But at the moment, I'm with Norwich, and that's another dream for me to go and play for Norwich now.
And I guess as a Scots Abroad interview, my main goal is to make sure that at some point seeing a full Scottish international shirt, hopefully not too long. Charlie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed it. It's nice to look back at your time and just reflect yourself and see what pathway you're going on.
No worries. Thanks very much, mate.
Scots Abroad is written and produced by John Walker and Gary Black.